So now we are at the second element of sell, the E, or entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur is a person who combines the other three factors of production, meaning the land, or the natural resources, the labor, and the capital, in order to produce finished goods. So, in order for production to take place, there has to be somebody who will plan and organize everything else to create that production. The four factors of production are always going to be interrelated and dependent on one another. Think about it. Without capital, you cannot be an entrepreneur. You will not have the money to pay your workforce. And you will definitely not have the money to rent out the land or the buildings that you need to rent out. Without the entrepreneur, there will be nobody there to organize the capital, to organize the workforce, or to even rent out the buildings or land. Without the labor, well, you can still have capital. You may be an entrepreneur and you may have the land, but you will not or cannot be a jack of all trades. You cannot possibly do everything alone. Yes, you can try, but you will burn yourself out. And then without the land, yes, the capital can be there, the entrepreneur can be there, and the labor can be there. But where will they work from? What land will they work? Where will you get your resources that you will need to make your product or to sell your service? So all of these four elements or sell are dependent on each other, and they have to be there to make your whole entrepreneurial venture work. So the entrepreneur takes a risk in starting a business. They don't know if the business will succeed or not. So as an entrepreneur, you'll identify the needs of a community or a group of people. You'll start the production of products based on the community's needs. All of this will be done with the aim of making a profit. So, do you have what it takes to be a good entrepreneur? Are you a hardworking person? Are you creative? Are you motivated? Are you prepared to take risks? And are you able to work with other people? Well, if you've answered yes to all of these questions, then hey, you could make a good entrepreneur. But it is not an easy journey. So, not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur. But before I get into that, let's start here. There are two forms of entrepreneurship. There's an entrepreneur and there's an intrapreneur. So let's start with what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur is somebody who will start their own business. They'll employ other people to work for them, all in the efforts of making a profit for themselves. But not everybody is cut out to do this. Some people either need the comfort of working for a company, or they do not have the luxury of actually saying, you know what, I'm going to start my own business, but I am working for a particular company. Those people would be what will be known as intrapreneurs. They work for a business, but they have the same responsibilities or qualities of an entrepreneur. They chase for profit, but not just for themselves, but the business which employs them. A lot of businesses where you are paid commission, it is a big motivator to push. And your salary or the commission that you will get is going to always be much, much higher than a normal salaried employee. Why? Because there's a much higher risk of you not actually gaining any business in a certain month. It's how it is. Think about a lot of jobs that I can think of that work like this from the top of my head. estate agents, financial planners or advisors. The different types of entrepreneurs. So there's a techno-entrepreneur. They develop and improve upon technology. There's social entrepreneurs. They fix various problems which plague society. Normally, they play in the NGO space. There's a tourism entrepreneur. These entrepreneurs do work in the tourism sector. South Africa wants to be a big player in this industry because, let's face it, we've got a very beautiful country and there's a lot of people who want to see it, the good side and the bad side of it. Then there's the enviro entrepreneur. Businesses in this field look to find sustainable solutions to work with the environment. Companies that make solar panels or solar panel geysers. Then there's serial entrepreneurs, and then these people, they just start businesses so that they will make those businesses successful and then sell them. There's a lot of money to be made there. And the textbook says this: there are survivalists. There are many of these types of entrepreneurs. The reason they start a business is to survive. This is the direct result of the high unemployment rates in South Africa. Very few of these entrepreneurs have the ability to grow their businesses into really successful business ventures. These entrepreneurs are often called hand-to-mouth entrepreneurs because as soon as they make money, they have to spend it to survive. What examples of people would you think of that would fall into this category of entrepreneurs? Then there's lifestyle entrepreneurs. Is someone who takes up entrepreneurship as a hobby or a way of life. They start a business based on this. An example would be someone who really loves dogs and starts a dog obedience school where he or she trains dogs. Or someone who's a vegetarian and finds that organic products are unavailable where they live. This person may then decide to open an organic vegetable shop in their neighborhood. Lifestyle entrepreneur. And then there are tenderpreneurs. Tenderpreneurs, they come from previously disadvantaged people and they see an opportunity in the fact that government now allocates tenders to this group of people. They have the right connections and make a fortune from government contracts or tenders. And then traditional entrepreneur. This entrepreneur starts a business with the aim of growing it as much as possible. He or she may get involved in another business project at a later stage, but usually they prefer to stay involved in the original business venture. So people like Richard Branson, they were traditional entrepreneurs. They built their businesses up from the ground, made them successful, and continue working for those businesses. I remember that I said social entrepreneurs work in the NGO space, but there's also the taxi industry that makes a lot of money because of the transport issues that a lot of South Africans have. Remember I told you last term that South Africa is one of the most unequal societies in the world. There's very few rich people and there's a lot of very poor people, or people who cannot afford to buy their own cars. And then there's security companies that render security services and generate a profit from that. So, some qualities to have as an entrepreneur. You have to be organized, meaning that you must be able to organize and arrange the factors of production in a way that will help you make money. You have to be able to understand the different elements of the business to ensure that the business will be able to run smoothly. You have to be professional, so dress the part. And you must at all times be ethical. So You as an entrepreneur must also be objective. So you must know the difference between right and wrong. You will be facing a lot of challenges from even your employees who may not know the difference, and then you have to show them. So you have to be objective in this regard. You have to be a risk taker. The risks that you take as an entrepreneur are many. You risk financial burden or financial loss. You lose all your money. And you may lose all your money. You may lose your family. A lot of people will not be willing to stick around if you don't make the same amount of money that you could make at some other point in time in your life. But the most important thing is that you have to make sure that you calculate your risks. Don't just take risks for the fact or for the sake of taking risks. Take a risk if you have at least made sure that there's a 50% chance or 51% chance of you being successful. Then take the risk. Because there's a whole lot of uncertainty in business. As an entrepreneur, you have to be innovative, which means the business has to be different, always. In doing so, you'll be able to have a competitive advantage. By considering technology and other ways of thinking, you will improve your rate of success. A different business is a business that people will go to. People are always looking for something different, but never looking for change. Think about that. People are always looking for something different, but never looking for change. An example of this is the service TikTok. I'm sure you guys all know what TikTok is. You make a video of yourself, 15 seconds, nothing more. Were there businesses or apps that did this before? Of course they were. YouTube was there, Snapchat was there, but why was there a gap in the market that TikTok was able to capitalize on? People are always looking for something different, but they are never willing to change. It's one way of making a business. Decision making. This is one of the most important skills that you can have as an entrepreneur. You have to have the right resources to allow you to make the best decisions at the right times, always. You must be able to negotiate. This is basically to help you negotiate for lower prices with your suppliers, negotiate wages with your employees, or negotiate prices with your customers. Negotiation is not necessarily a fight. It's just a way to get two parties to reach an agreement that they both feel satisfied with. Okay, so how would you identify entrepreneurial opportunities? You can observe trends, so look at how people live and the changing needs of people. I mean, think about it. If you still have your grandparents alive, ask them, how did they live before cell phones? What did they have to do? Did they talk to their loved ones as much as they can talk to them now? Things changed, and now cell phones are here. People cannot live without them. Solve problems. That's also a way of solving a problem. People are always complaining about this or that. If you listen carefully to the complaints, you can have a business opportunity there. People like, for example, people don't like washing their shoes. I see that in a whole lot of communities, people are starting shoe washing businesses where they'll say, we'll wash your shoes, make you look beautiful, make you look nice for a price. Another thing that you can do is filling the gaps in the market. So find niche markets and then protect your position. So what is a niche market? So a niche market is a market that is not easily found. Think a jewelry cleaning business. A lot of people have jewelry, but they do not necessarily clean their jewelry. If you have a jewelry cleaning business, then you are in a niche market. It's not something that is freely available, freely there. But to keep on making a profit in this niche market, you have to protect your position. Make sure that people do not come into your space. Advertise yourself. Make sure that you are the best at what you do. Tell people about yourself. And then you'll be able to protect your position. So this is what the textbook has, and it tells you to look out for. So the trends, technology advancements, political changes, changes in laws, social trends, and economic issues. And then the ages of people, social interaction patterns, family patterns, inflation rates, and interest rates. All of these things is essentially a business opportunity waiting for you to take it by the horns. The more technology changes, the more opportunities it creates for you to sell that new technology. Political changes. VW used to make vehicles for the Germans during World War II. No more war, they had to change, and they started making people's cars. Changes in laws. Right now, during this lockdown, a lot of informal traders are not allowed to trade because they do not have the necessary certifications or certificates to allow them to trade. That's a change in law. Now, if you had a registered business before, you were allowed to trade. So this is a change in law that stopped people from trading. Social trends. A lot of people moved away from using Facebook and Instagram. Now people are using TikTok and all these other apps that you guys know better than I. And then economic issues. Right now during the lockdown, a lot of people cannot go to work. They do not have money. A lot of businesses may suffer because of this lockdown. But if things change for the better, then people will have money. I mean, think about it. The petrol price went down because the countries that deal in oil cannot sell their oil. There's too much oil. There's not much of a demand that is there. Because of this, the petrol price went down by 2 rand a liter. And then under social trends, there's the age of people, social interaction patterns, and family patterns. Generally, a family of 4, for instance, a mother, a father, and 2 children, will spend more money than 2 people alone. Then social interaction patterns, if people are willing to go to beaches or clubs or parties, that is a market in itself. And then the age of people, the older people get, they're more likely that the money that they have, they will spend it on different things than when they were much younger. So activity time. You have to do activity 4 on page 56 and activity 5 on page 58. So activity 4, it's a bit of a long one. It wants you to provide a definition for the term entrepreneur in your own words. So I've told you what an entrepreneur is. So now you have to take what I said or what the textbook says and put it in your own words. And then identify a successful South African entrepreneur, and through your research, find 5 reasons for their success. So what you think helped them become successful. And then it carries on to number 3. So if you are a young entrepreneur who had identified an opportunity in your community for a small business and needed 150,000 to start the business, how would you go about raising this capital? Investigate at least 3 different avenues to consider as possible options for borrowing the capital. Once you have scrutinized the 3 options, choose the most suitable option and explain the choice you have made. And then activity 5 on page 58. Okay. It says work in groups of 4, create a short documentary or video in which you examine tourism in South Africa as an entrepreneurial opportunity. Be creative and have fun. Use the space below for your planning. Okay, obviously because of the lockdown, you cannot do or be in groups of 4 with your classmates. So I don't know. Have this as a fun activity that you can do with the people that you have at home with you, your parents, your grandparents, your siblings. Do the research on this and you can use this for planning. Thanks.